Moments of Eternity. A 3.5 gram golden teacher's report, submitted by Craig. Having experienced many trips on mushrooms, none of my psychedelic experiences has ever come close to how profound this trip was, and to this day, thinking about it just radiates to the core of my being. I got home after a long day of chilling with my friends and smoking some high-grade cannabis. I was super excited to take the shrooms, and I ate them around 7 PM on an empty stomach, then went to sit in the lounge to watch some trippy videos on the TV while I came up. I didn't feel anything for a good hour, then I went to smoke some cannabis outside, then went back into the lounge with no noticeable effects. After another hour of nothing, I'm starting to get a bit disappointed that the shrooms were super weak, or that something was wrong with them. Then, I start noticing one of the first visual effects starting to come in, as I'm watching this trippy video on YouTube, and I could see the fractal imagery coming out of the TV. Then everything was back to normal. It had already been 3 hours now, and I was sure that was the peak of my trip, and I felt very sober, so I accepted that that was my trip, and then decided to go to sleep. I switched off my lights, and went into bed, and closed my eyes. I began to see every single moment I ever lived inside a giant ancient clock. I felt an extreme surge of pure bliss. It felt amazing. And this is when I felt as if I was now standing on my bed. And then I felt myself go sit on the floor and near the door at one moment. I even bumped into the door and fell down because I felt extremely dizzy. I could not stand up at all. This is when I was like in my head, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're gonna wake up your parents. They're gonna see you tripping. This is the moment I opened my eyes and realised I was in my bed the whole time. I closed my eyes again and felt this cosmic surge of transcendental light and pleasure that made me laugh as I became the universe at one moment, and I was laughing at how amazing this whole life is. As I experienced every single moment in the whole of the universe unfold from nothing in front of my eyes, it then stopped, and I had a thought loop back to where I became pure consciousness and laughing about the marvel of the universe. Things were already getting intense, as I've already lived 1,000 lives as the universe. Then this is where I'm at the point where I'm trying to not go back into that loop, so I say in my head, don't think about it, and it comes to mind again, and I loop back. I slightly slap my face, and hear an echo of myself saying, fuck, as I realised I fell for the loop again. Then, I become pure consciousness, and begin to fall through infinite empty darkness. I began to have extremely profound thoughts about my life, as each experience came into play telepathically into the pure consciousness. I tried to open my eyes to go to switch on the lights and see what the open eye visuals were like with the lights on. But I was stuck in this state of awareness for what felt like years, where I was creating the universe from nothing, taking it apart, and rebuilding it to create the next moment into existence. I then have another closed eye visual of me finally opening my eyes and getting up to go switch on the lights to check out what the visuals are like. But every time I almost switch on the light, I get stuck in a thought and time loop, where I get back to where I'm in my bed, and I just manage to open my eyes to go switch on the light, and it happens over and over 1,000 times, where I'm in complete darkness, and every time I nearly get to the switch, I get stuck in the same time and thought loop. I feel like this type of unconscious being, constantly trying to switch on a light in a dark room to become conscious. I felt as if I would be stuck in here forever at this point. I've completely forgotten that I even took a psychedelic, or that I'm just hallucinating, as it felt all so real. I felt this deep sense of sadness as I realised I would never see my parents again. This is when the last few moments before the trip come into life in front of me, and I thought of those as being my last moments on Earth. So I started to fight it and tried to get back to my reality. I was becoming extremely overwhelmed. Then time fully stopped and I was stuck in a moment of eternity where I could not accept my death, not seeing my parents again, and having to be stuck in this infinite time and thought loop. This is when I accepted it all, and a profound realization came over me that we cannot stay attached to all these things we experience on Earth, as one day we will have to let it all go and move on. We are only here as observers and only passing by. After this realization, I finally actually opened my eyes and managed to switch on the light. But when I do, I don't even know where I am, as my room is completely gone, and I am now situated in a completely different dimension or higher plane of existence. I just felt so purely conscious that I experienced and saw everything in the universe build itself from scratch out of every atom and molecule, then fall apart again and rebuild itself over and over. This is where I accessed infinite or super consciousness, where I became each and every single person and thing in this universe down to an atom. I had a strong sense of connectedness to everything in this entire universe and lifetime. The thoughts were starting to become extremely profound and quite overwhelming, as every profound thought and experience of being everything in this universe at once left me in awe. At this stage, I feel as if I am no longer the way of the universe expressing itself, but that I am now the expression. The thought of never seeing my parents again washed over me. I thought that I had risen to a higher state of awareness, and therefore never be able to go back to my normal human state of consciousness, and that I will just be presumed unconscious in the real world where my body will be on life support for as long as I live, where I'll be stuck in this state of awareness for eternity. I couldn't accept it. This is where I began to experience myself on the hospital bed and life support, and that I've been presumed unconscious for years now, and although my parents visited me every day, I felt extreme sadness that I can hear them and feel their touch, but I cannot respond, and I'll never be able to say a word again to them. Also, hearing my mum crying every day telling me how much she misses me broke me to my core. This is when I just fully gave it all up, and my ego was fully gone, to where I just left all my human experiences behind, and was finally peaceful with being in this state of pure awareness for eternity. It was an extremely blissful experience. After this, the shrooms told me they only made me go through some of the hard parts, because they wanted to make me appreciate life and what I already have more. After this I quickly calmed down, as I began to recognise my room again and objects in it. I looked at the time, and the clock read 1 AM, which means I was in this state for 3 hours, but to me it felt like an eternity. I was really tired, and went to sleep straight after. I woke up feeling great, and I had an amazing afterglow for a week, and this newfound appreciation for life. It's been 2 months since this trip happened, and the thought of it still blows my mind to this very day.